Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That was great. I had a browser glitch right when the stream was starting. Okay. Well, with that smooth start, welcome to the .NET Community Stand-Up. We're doing languages and runtime. And today I'm very excited to be learning what's coming for .NET Test and .NET 10. So we'll start with Amaury. Can you introduce the team?
Yes, thanks. So I'm Amaury, a part of the .NET testing team, and we have Youssef and Mariam with us today. They will be doing most of the work, most of the speech as part of this presentation on basically .NET tests, new features for .NET 10 SDK. Mariam, if you want to get started.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Mariam, and today I'm co-presenting with Youssef to walk you through what's coming to .NET Test and .NET 10. So let's get started.
All right.
Here's what we've lined up for today. So we will kick things off with what is Microsoft Testing Platform, also known as MTP, and the key benefits of using MTP. Youssef prepared a couple of demos that he will demonstrate in a while. Next, we will explore what .NET Test is and how it's evolving with MTP. We will highlight the key benefits of using MTP with .NET Test. I will be showcasing some exciting new features that are coming to .NET Test in .NET 10. And finally, I will touch on the mixed project compatibility with .NET Test. So Youssef will take over the MTP part. Over to you, Youssef.
Thank you, Mariam, and super excited to be here. First thing I want to explain what is Microsoft Testing Platform in the first place. But before getting to Microsoft Testing Platform, let's first understand what a test platform is. So a test platform, in short, is a common abstraction that we provide for test framework authors so that they can implement their test frameworks using a standardized way, which helps us having a standard way to discover and run tests, for example, in IDEs or with .NET tests, so that these components don't need to understand about the individual test frameworks out there. We only need to understand a test platform, and any test framework built on top of the test platforms that we provide will work smoothly with our tooling. Next slide, please. So now, what is Microsoft Testing Platform, which I will just refer to as MTP, because that's much shorter and easier to say. MTP is a lightweight test platform, which is alternative to VS Test. And I forgot to say, today we have two test platforms, VS Test and MTP. So MTP is a newer one, which is lightweight alternative to VS Test. And by lightweight, it doesn't mean that it is less powerful or anything like that. Lightweight is more like lightweight in its architecture and how it becomes part of your application. With MTP, your test project is a simple executable. We will see that. And the core platform doesn't have any dependencies. So avoiding dependencies interfering with your own dependencies. And as of today, MTP is supported by all major test frameworks, or it has been supported by all test frameworks for quite a while already. So it's supported by Expecto, NUnit, MSTest, and XUnit. And there is even a new test framework called GUnit that only supports MTP and doesn't support VS Test at all. Next slide, please. Okay, so now the question is why to consider migrating from VSTest to MTP? What are the benefits of using MTP? So with MTP, we have strict defaults. So for example, if we discover or run zero tests, that is now an error with MTP, which used to commonly be kind of swallowed. Um, and with MTP, you also get to benefit from all the standard .NET features like native AOT, publishing a single file, containerization, as we will see in a demo in a few minutes. As long like the core platform is native AOT compatible, so as long as your test framework that you are using is native AOT compatible as well, you can enjoy testing with native AOT. We also ship as a NuGet package, so we are no longer tied to Visual Studio release cycle or SDK. We just push to NuGet. So if you found a bug and you want a fix the next day, we probably can do it. And again, because it's an executable, you can use all the standard stuff for console applications, like you can debug just with F5, you can profile it as you profile any other application, you can use .NET Run, etc. And also we have good extensibility APIs for MTP. We have a documentation on that, so you can check out our documentation, and we are very excited to see what kind of extensions you're going to bring out. Maybe you can push your own extension to the whole community and not just use it for yourself. MTP is also very performant, so you can get some performance benefits by using MTP as well. Next slide, please. Woohoo! Demo time. So that is my favorite part. So let me share my screen. Okay, so
let me see. I'm trying to. Oh, I need to remove the other slides, and then we'll add you. There we go.
Okay, is it clear?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So I have here a simple project file, which is kind of typical console application with output type exe. The interesting parts here is that we are using mstest meta package and we enable mstest runner. mstest runner basically refers to MTP. So when mstest is run on top of MTP, and that's how you enable that. And the rest of the project is very typical console application. So I have a test class here, which has a few tests, each take different amount of time. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select the project and debug it as I debug any console application. And let's wait a little bit until it builds. Here it is. So build succeeded and it is up and running. So what we can see here is this is the number of passing tests. These are the two tests that are currently running. Once one of them finishes, it goes away and the number increases. And once all tests are finished, we get this summary saying test run summary passed. So all your tests are passing. And these are 6 tests, and we have no skipped tests at all.
Okay.
So One interesting part here in my project is I just have this test class, but we are running as executable, so we need an entry point, right?
Mhm.
So where is the entry point? When you enable MS Test Runner, we generate the entry point for you unless you disable the generation yourself. And I can hit F10 to run again and stop at the first line of our entry point, and here it is. This is what we are generating for you.
Okay.
So
Because all you need is to launch the test, right? So there's no point having to write that code.
I just do F10 to get to the first line.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
You mentioned it's possible to disable that, like maybe if I wanted to be able to do some sort of setup or something.
Yes, so you can disable it. We have a property called generate testing platform entry point, and we have very nice IntelliSense for it as well.
Okay.
And if you set it to false, you can start declaring your main method, and you can plug any logic you want even before running your tests in the beginning of the
Great.
game, or you can do some logic after you complete the test run. So it's up to you or your needs to do what you want in your entry point. But the basic building blocks that we generate for you is that we create a test application builder and we register some extensions automatically for you, like TRX, code coverage, and a bunch of other stuff as well. So that's basically what we generate for you. And as I said probably many times already, it's very powerful to have your test projects as just executables, no any surrounding infrastructure needed to run your tests.
So
And
as like some things that come to mind, maybe it's like CI, if I wanted to set those up in CI, or just script them or do something else without having to like run them through something else. Is that, and then also the lightweight part of it, right? It's very, very quick startup and everything.
yeah, so it depends on your needs. So for most cases, maybe users don't have to add their entry points, so we generate it for you. But if you need to do anything in your CI environments, you can do it.
Okay.
And the next thing I want to show is thanks to this being a console application, we can benefit from .NET features that exist today. So maybe we can containerize this. So I'm going to run .NET Publish with a publish container target. One thing to note is enable SDK container support is true by default now in .NET 10, and I'm using .NET 10 SDK here, so I don't need to set it. But if you're on older version of .NET SDK, you need to explicitly set this property to true.
That's a really nice feature to not have to go in and create a Docker file, do any of that. It's built right into the SDK.
Yeah, you don't even need to understand anything about Docker, so it makes it really very easy and simple to create images. And one interesting part to note here is the base image we are building on top of, which is .NET Runtime. We don't need .NET SDK at all. We just need the runtime to run our test application.
That's nice.
So it is building, and you need to also remember to have Docker Desktop open. Otherwise, it's going to show you an error.
Mhm.
And now if I run Docker run, I am now running on Linux.
Okay.
Very magic. And my tests are running. We are running now the very slow test. And at the end, we get our summary with 6 tests passing as before. It's kind of the same we have seen on Windows. So that's the first part of the demo. Just to summarize it, what I wanted to say or what I wanted to show is the powerful of this being just an executable. You can do everything you typically do with your console applications. And the second demo I have for you is hot reload. And I have a very similar test project with output type exe and enable MS test runner and with hot reload package reference here. This is not the only extension that we have, but this is what I'm going to show you today. You can check out our documentation for other extensions like retry, for example. And we are very interested to hear your experience for our extensions. And we cannot wait to see you using them. To get back to the demo, to enable hot reload, I also need to set one little environment variable, which is testing platform hot reload enabled. And I am now setting it in launch settings JSON. And I have a simple test class here with a failing assert. And now if I run this project, and let me have this side by side so that it's more clear. So the thing that is different now from the previous demo is that we get now hot reload test session started. And after our test runs, we get our summary as usual, but the test application doesn't terminate. We just get hot reload test session completed. But it's waiting for you to edit the code and potentially hot reload it. So so far the test is failing because I am failing it here. So if I comment this out and I hot reload this, now the test is passing. I don't need to stop debugging and make code changes and rebuild and run again. You don't need all of that.
And, oh, wow. That's cool.
Yes, and it doesn't only work when you modify your test code. You can also make code changes to your production code, and it will pick it up, and all your code is hot reloadable. It's not only your test code.
Wow.
So that makes iterating over test failures or writing tests much faster than ever.
Yeah, well, that's a lot to think about. Hot reload in a test, or like you're saying, in the production code as well, a lot more productive.
Yeah, that really enhances the developer efficiency. So we are very excited to hear your stories using our extensions. And that brings to the end of my demo. So back to you, Mariam.
Okay, thank you, Youssef, for the great demos. They were very exciting indeed. And now I will share my screen.
Okay. All right, let me add you there. Okay.
Okay. So before that, now it's time to dive into the exciting new features that are coming to .NET Test and .NET 10. The first thing I will do is I will open my solution, and I will show you how to enable MTP with .NET Test in .NET 10. So in the global JSON, I have set the SDK version to be 10. And I have a .NET.config file with any format, which specifies the test runner. And in our case, it's Microsoft.Testing.Platform. This file should be located at the solution or repository root. Please note that a global configuration at the user or at the machine level is currently not supported. I have one test project that is using MS Test, and it's using MTP as well. It's using Microsoft Testing Platform. I have added a couple of tests so that we see how those are executed in the CLI. So back to the CLI. Now I will run the help options. So I can see that the options are being loaded. And the reason for that is that .NET Test now adapts and fetches the available options from the testing platform, and based on the extensions we have enabled in our test projects. So if I want to look at the help, I see that I have 3 sections. The first part would be the static options, then the platform options, which are tied to the testing, to MTP. And I have the extension options, which are tied to the extensions I have enabled in my test projects. As Youssef mentioned, that we have a couple of extensions that are enabled by default. So for each extension, there comes a list of options. For example, the code coverage extension, I have -- coverage and those 3 other options. So what I will run now is that I want to execute my tests and with enabling code coverage. Let's see how that goes. So tests are running now. My coverage report has been generated. I see the test run summary with some statistics. If I click on the coverage report, I should be able to view it in the code coverage results window. And I will so now that we have seen how easy and seamless it is to enable MTP with .NET Test in .NET 10, let's go back in time and see how that was supported prior to .NET 10. So in the global JSON, I will be using .NET 9. And in the .NET.config file, I can keep it, I can remove it. It won't make any difference because this file will not be picked up by the Net SDK 9 version. For the project file, we should add one property, which is enabling testing platform .NET Test support property. Set this to true. And I will, for the sake of having a relevant output, I will be also disabling the capture output feature from MTP. Okay, we're all set. I will go back to the CLI and I will run, the help options in Net 9. We see that the options are different here. Those are VS Test options and not Microsoft Testing Platform. And the reason for that is in Net 9, the only way of supporting MTP with .NET Test was through VS Test mode. So I see VS Test options here. So if I want to run my tests with MTP in Net 9, I have to pass an extra 2 dashes before setting any option, because those arguments will flow into MTP, and this is our only way of doing it prior to .NET 10.
That always confuses me. Like, it works, but it is always kind of a weird thing. You know, it feels strange to type that with the 2 dashes, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's why .NET 10 improvements came along.
Okay.
So I'm also here disabling the terminal logger because in Net9 there has been a new feature that like updates the output in the CLI, and it affects all .NET verbs, including .NET Test, of course. So I will run this. Now tests will run with MTP, and the code coverage report will be generated. Okay, and I have the test run summary with some statistics, and this is how it was done in Net9 or prior to .NET 10. I will go back to my solution so that I re-enable Net 10, so I can clean those properties. I can undo this change. Okay, and now it's time to see something else, like another feature. So let's say I want to run my tests for a specific test project file. If I pass the path to the test project file, okay, this will not succeed because we changed the support to be more explicit and deterministic, and to be aligned with other .NET verbs like .NET Run. So if I want to run test for a specific test project, I would need to pass -- project before setting the path to the test project file. Now, if I run this, this will only execute tests for this specific test project, and I can see the test run summary. Also, the same goes for -- solution and -- directory, where you need to specify the path to the solution file and the path to the directory, respectively. Okay, so let's move into the UI UX improvements. So one thing I will do before showing you anything in the CLI is that I will add a little bit of delay to some of my tests so that we can see how tests are being executed, or we can see the progress being reported more closely. I will go back to the CLI and I will run .NET test. So now we are using the ANSI terminal. We can see the progress is being reported, how many tests are passing, how many are failing, and how many are skipped, from which assembly and with which TFM and which architecture. And we have, of course, the test run summary. Let's say I want to disable showing the progress. I can simply type no progress, and then I will not see any progress being reported in the output. So tests will run without any progress. Now I want to see a detailed output of my tests execution. So I use the output option with specifying detailed. Now the tests are running. I see extra information, which is all of the tests, including the ones that are passing, and from which assembly, and also the net framework and architecture, as I mentioned. Now, one last thing about the UI improvements is the retry functionality. So I will go back to my VS, and I will add this extension, which Youssef mentioned a while ago. For that, I will add one test that will fail the first time and then succeed the second time. Okay, here I will pass the try-fail tests 3, which means that failing tests will run up to 3 times if they keep failing. So now tests are running. It shows me the first try that my test failed. It shows me the stack trace, and then it's rerunning it. And in the second try, the test passed. In the test run summary, other than what we already saw, I also have the number of tests that were retried. Okay, so that's it for the UI improvements. Now let's move into the parallelism. So by parallelism, I mean we now support parallel test execution. So we support executing tests from assemblies having different TFMs. I will open my solution in order to add another TFM. And in my tests, I will add 2 tests, one specifically for net 9 and one for net 10. Let's go back to the CLI. Now, if I run .NET test, so tests from both exes having different TFMs, I should see here. Okay, tests from both exes having different TFMs are running like at the same time, simultaneously. And my tests are passing. Now, one more thing is that you can control the degree of parallelism your tests are running with. So let's say for our case, just to have a proof of concept, I will set this to, I will set this to 1 because we only have like 2 executables. So in order to see this, now I expect that only 1 exe is being executed. My tests are being executed only from 1. And then once this is done, the net 10 assembly will start. Yeah, exactly. So now tests are running. Okay. Now moving on to the feature that will make developers' life way easier, which is the support of the globbing filter. So first I need to switch to another solution. And this is particularly useful when we want to execute tests from pre-built test assemblies, or if I have complex solution structure and I want to have control over which test assemblies to execute. So in my test, in my another solution, I have, of course, net 10 SDK. I have enabled MTP, and I have 3 test projects that are using MS Test and are using MTP as well. 2 of them are unit tests, and 1 is integration tests. In the CLI, I will try to run .NET Test. Now I should be executing tests from all 3 test projects, which we will see now. Okay, so the 3 test projects actually ran. And for my case, let's say I want to execute tests only from the unit test projects. I can simply pass test modules and the globbing filter expression, which will like select only those test projects. If I try to rerun, it will show me that tests were executed only from the unit tests test projects. That's it for the demo. We can go back to the slide.
Okay. There we go. Flawless demos today.
Okay, so the sad thing is that I forgot to define what .NET Test is, but I guess like everyone knows, so I can skip this slide.
Okay.
Okay, so the demo, we already did it. Next, so just to recap, so prior to .NET 10, in order to enable Microsoft Testing Platform, I need to add Testing Platform .NET Test Support property and enable it in my project file. And in the CLI, I would need to pass an extra 2 dashes before setting any option. However, that changed with .NET 10. Now I no longer need those extra properties and those extra CLI args. I can simply add my dotnet.config file, which specifies which test runner I'm using and it's Microsoft Testing Platform. And in the CLI, I can simply type .NET test -- coverage, and this will work seamlessly. So a quick summary of the key benefits of using MTP with .NET Test. So first, because we know that MTP is the future of test execution in .NET, so it makes perfect sense to be using that as well in the CLI with .NET Test, as to have a unified test execution. We have the better performance, better diagnostics and logging with MTP or thanks to MTP. We have the parallel test execution. So as now it supports multi-TFM's execution parallel in a parallel way. We already saw the dynamic arguments. By that, I mean we have the dynamic options, which are tied to the extensions we have enabled in our test projects. The globbing filter, which provides the user with a more flexible and efficient test selection. And finally, the improved UI UX, which uses the ANSI terminal. So for more details, you can check our official documentation of .NET Test at Microsoft Learn. And please stay tuned because we are working on a blog post that will be published soon. Next. Yeah. So
sorry,
yes.
I have a question on that first one. That .NET config, I don't see that used super often. Is that a new thing I just haven't paid attention to?
Yes, it is a new thing that will be introduced in that time.
Yeah, I can.
And I'm guessing, is that because it needs to kind of start at a level, like in order to be testing, you've got to kind of be at that high up level in order to do that? Or
so as part of the .NET
like,
CLI, yes, we need to be pretty soon as part of the .NET CLI process to be able to understand. And basically, when we were working on this feature, we started with reusing the global JSON. But there is a big request. I mean, we had like long discussion with the SDK team, and they are kind of trying to push people out of the global JSON, sorry, or at least restrict the global JSON to be runtime feature. And so they came up with this new .NET config file that should be basically the future for any kind of settings, extensions, or configuration related to .NET. At the moment, because of some timing constraints, we are the only one there, so it looks a bit weird and like tailored for us. But there are some tickets, some discussions on the .NET SDK repo if some people want to, check things out. But I'm sure that with the new versions, on .NET 10 and maybe .NET 11, we'll see a lot more projects and configuration showing up in this file.
Okay, cool. I'll let you get back to it, Mariam.
Okay, now the final thing I will touch on is the mixed project compatibility. So what is mixed project? It means that in a single solution, I have test projects that are using VS Test and other test projects using MTP. So in order to enable MTP, as I mentioned, we have to add this .NET.config file, and all our test projects should be migrated to use MTP. So having this mixed environment is not supported. And this currently happens when someone has a solution and he is migrating to use MTP, but he is partially there. So he will have mixed test projects. And this limitation is due to the fact that the two test runners or two test platforms, they operate differently. They have different features and different CLI arguments. I think that would be it. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let me see. As far as questions, we had one. I think Amaury answered it, but just to bring up, when will MTP be the default for MS Test?
Yeah, I can take this one. As I wrote down in the chat, basically, if it was only on us, it would be already the default. We are also discussing with the management leadership, trying to make sure that changing that default is okay for all our partners. As you have seen in this demo, even without like the .NET 10, it's pretty complex to mix the projects that are using a VS Test and MTP, because it's really like, that's why it's called platform. It's really like the bottom level. It's similar to if you wanted to run Java test or Java project, let's say, and C# project as part of the same thing. It's two different worlds, so they cannot really be mixed together. And so that means that if tomorrow we are putting MTP as default for MS test, imagine you are one big company, you are not really looking at all of these kind of changes, and you bump the version, now MTP is the default, you didn't update your CLI arguments, everything will start to fail for you. And so that's a bit inconvenient. So at the moment, let's say the main requirement for us is to have enough users on MTP so that we can get back to leadership and say, looks like now we have enough users to feel confident and to try to make that as a default on the next breaking change.
Okay. Let me see. I had a question from Hisham asking, any plans to integrate MTP with Playwright from within Visual Studio?
So at the moment, Playwright or Playwright.net, at least because there are multiple versions. So the Playwright.net is a higher level, so it's like kind of a test framework. So it's already compatible with MTP.
Okay, awesome. Let me see. So you mentioned migrating, and it's how complex is it to migrate if I have some existing things to migrate over to MTP?
So it's kind of like the first part of Youssef. So you are using MS Test. Let's say you are already using the MS Test meta package, so the single package, and not MS Test.Test Adapter and MS Test Framework. But that will also work if you are doing that. The only thing you have to do is set this property, enable MS Test Runner, inside of your project. You can even put that in the directory build props to apply to every project in your repo, and changing the output type to be unexecutable. And that's it. You are migrated, you are onboarded to MTP. That's only for the configuration. After that, obviously, as we have seen as part of this demo, you will need to do a couple of changes in your scripts, whether it's CI local, on the .NET test call to be passing the correct MTP arguments and not the VS test arguments.
Okay. Let me see.
There is a question from Andy. Andy Walter.
Oh yeah. Let me bring that up.
It's so it's again like kind of linked to the slide from Youssef. From user point of view, it's pretty complex because many things have been hidden from user like over the past on testing. But there is this clear separation on the test platform and the test framework. So XUnit is a test framework and MTP is a test platform. So MTP is not a replacement or a concurrent to XUnit. And as a matter of fact, in XUnit v3, you can opt in a feature to also use MTP. So it's really not a difference. So the main comparison is going to be VS Test that most people don't know versus MTP. And every test framework that you were using up to today is going to be compatible with the small trick of you need to enable MTP support.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So this is all. You showed a bunch of stuff. Oops, bringing that up again. You showed a bunch of stuff for .NET 10. What's the kind of do you have anything else roadmap wise of things that you're looking at, or additional things .NET 10 or even later that you're thinking about?
Does someone want to take it, or do you want me to go on, Youssef, Mariam?
It's fine, you can answer.
Okay, all right. So in terms of the roadmap, let's say, I will start with like the kind of generic answer. At the moment, we are really trying to build a good collaboration and cooperation with communities. So the main feedback, the main roadmap for us is whatever feedback we get from the community. Trying to also drive the adoption, because if we can like get these numbers going up, it's going to be also easier to try to make that a default, to try to ensure that all the ecosystem is moving forward to that new platform. Obviously, out of that, we still have a couple of features. Some of the things that we are planning are revolving around test sharding, for example. So it could be an option for you to be able to split your tests onto multiple machines to have better performances. We also are thinking about like some improvement on the platform level to get some more diagnostic, to include AI, for example, because that's like a new thing to do. And there are some also discussion around open telemetry to try to provide more advanced dashboard for you to understand like the time you are spending in what part of the tests and the test execution.
That actually is very similar to a question that just came in there. Any idea of integration into Aspire? That you mentioned open telemetry. I love using Aspire because it kind of brings all those traces and logs and everything all together. So any thoughts on kind of opportunities on integration with Aspire?
Yes, exactly what you just said. This is really like, at the time, it's only like us playing and prototyping, but this is something that we would love to be able to achieve, to kind of create this like nice browsable dashboard of the test execution. And so like, with all the spans, etc., and you could just dive down into the exact time spent to try to have a better visualization. You could also think about like exporting this kind of dashboard across the times, and so you could see test flakiness, test evolution. Maybe you now realize that you are spending more time in this part or this other part of your test setup.
Wow, awesome. I think that's all the questions we had come in. This is exciting. And as you said, people can follow the link that you shared, and then also the blog posts. The team continues to put out really good, high quality blog posts. So that's great. I'm seeing a renewed interest in testing, partly because of like Playwright, but also using Copilot to generate tests. So that's really nice to be able to, take some existing code base that may not have some good quality tests and say generate some tests for this class. So.
Yes. We also see the exact same trend in like requests for testing, how to have better prompting around testing. So yeah, we definitely look forward for that.
I'm wondering, just as we kind of wrap up, Mariam, if we can bring your slides back up, and then if you can go to the previous slide where you have the that one there. So for people getting started, this is a great place to go to, right? That akams.net-test.
Yes, exactly. This is where they find the support of .NET Test for VS Test and for MTP as well, all in the same page. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. Thanks, everyone. Congrats on the outstandingly smooth demos. Everything went super smooth there. Yeah. So that was great. Okay. I'll play the ending music, and thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.